Bye-bye smart shopping. We're gonna miss you. That's right, boys and girls. Smart shopping is finally being sunset by Google starting September 2023. I know, it's awful. If you've been holding out this long, you love smart shopping, sorry, there's no more choice. You got to make the switch. Today, I want to show you my recommendations for making the switch as seamless as possible for you so that you can try to have something similar to what you've gotten used to over the years with smart shopping. So let's get right into it. So per Google, I'll just read the exact quote. If you choose not to upgrade early, your smart shopping campaigns will be automatically upgraded starting September 23rd. Now, Google's reasoning behind this is, quote, to bring you additional inventory and formats to reach new customers. Sounds great, right? Here's my translation. We'll be showing your ads on underutilized Google ad inventory. Hopefully, it gets you more new customers. To reach new customers, quote unquote, is obviously not a guarantee. And it's going to be dependent on several factors, including how you're going to set up your PMax campaign. So, three major options as of the making of this video, which is August 21st, 2023. You've got option number one is going to be what we call a feed only or a shopping only or a PMax for retail PMax campaign. So, there are three different ways people call it. So, this is the closest to smart shopping that you're going to get. It's essentially shopping with some light display, like for remarketing. This is essentially going to just be those two networks, but roughly mostly shopping, though a bit of a caveat that I'll cover in a bit. Number two, your second option is going to be a full build PMax, as I like to say. So essentially, this is going to be smart shopping plus search, additional display, discover, Gmail, Google Maps, if that's applicable to you, and YouTube. So as you can imagine, that's probably not going to be the best fit if you've been holding out this long. But option number three is going to be kind of a blend of one and two. So essentially, it's going to be a feed-only PMax campaign that's just shopping with a little bit of display, and then an asset-only, which is going to be everything except for shopping. And that's the idea. Now, in practice, it doesn't always work out that way. But essentially, you're going to be separating shopping and a little bit of display with all other ad channels. You can do that through a few quote unquote hacks to get it there, which we can talk about in a different video. Now, many of us, the caveat I mentioned, many of us are starting to see search, display, and YouTube impressions increasing quite a bit in these feed-only campaigns lately. So it's something to keep in mind. What I'd really recommend is using a PMax tracking script like the community favorite from Mike Rhodes. It's Google Ads script, really, really, really useful. Can't recommend it enough. This allows you to monitor the ad placement behavior of these PMax campaigns. So definitely recommend that you launch these campaigns with that script running, and that way you can track how much it's going to display versus shopping versus search, etc. Now, if you have waited this long to make the switch, there's probably a good reason for it. You probably really like how smart shopping helps your business. So I'm going to focus on the feed-only PMax setup here because I feel like that'll be the most helpful for those businesses. So really quick couple definition changes, just so you're kind of caught up to speed. The two biggest changes that are in terms of definition is product groups are now listing groups and ad groups are now essentially asset groups. So you'll see different names for essentially the same thing. Just know that those are the changes. Now, if you're feeling maybe lazy or you just don't have the time, what if you just let Google automatically do it for you, right? And just it automatically upgrades your smart shopping to PMax campaigns. So I would highly, highly suggest that you not do that, and instead that you take control of this process, as does Google actually. So it's completely necessary if you want to do a feed only and you want to keep the closest thing to smart shopping to make sure that you manually control this process. And I'm going to go through that with you in a moment so you can see why and how that's done. Note, though, that if you do let it do the automatic upgrade, technically your campaign settings, For example, your goals, your budget, your bid strategy, your creative assets, and product targeting will automatically come over to PMax. But also note that audience signals will not be automatically added for you. You'd still have to go in and add those later. So again, that's if you want to let it automatically do it for you. I highly suggest you not do that. Note also that a few headlines and descriptions will be automatically populated for you, and it's questionable as to the quality of those assets. Now, if you want to do a feed-only PMax campaign, there can be a lot to that, but really in a few simple steps, how you would technically do that is you would essentially, once you do the one-click upgrade for your Performance Max campaigns, it can be relatively instantaneous, and in other cases, it can take a little bit longer for it to fully process. But in most cases, it's usually within a couple of minutes or within a few hours, or at least within the same day. So just keep that in mind when you're planning ahead here. So the first thing you'll do once that's been upgraded is create a new asset group with only the listing group and final URL. You're not going to put in any headlines, descriptions, images, nothing like that. If Google automatically puts any of those in for you for whatever reason, make sure you delete that before you save that newly created asset group. I would suggest holding off on adding an audience signal at first, because sometimes that can not allow you to save that newly created asset group. So I'd recommend just saving it before you put the audience signal in there, and then go back and edit it and add the audience signal that you'd like afterwards. It may not make a major difference, to be honest with you, but it's a good way to kind of jumpstart the system and give it a directionality as to what you'd like it to go after, at least to start, or where you think there's going to be conversion intent, if you will. Now, make sure also, if you're not finding the way to add the audience signal afterwards, that on the top right in the asset group section of Performance Max campaign, that you go to overview and not in the details section, because the detail won't allow you to, there's no place to edit the audience signal. I want to go to the overview and then hover over the audience signal thing. It'll show a little pencil icon, at least as of the recording of this video, and you can add the audience signal there. So from there, just also note, if you like, my favorites in terms of audience signals, in case you're wondering, relevant customer lists, relevant in terms of the products that are going to be advertised in that asset group. And generally, you'd like most of your product categories to be separated into different asset groups, maybe different campaigns. That's a whole topic for another video. But also on top of the customer lists, custom segment audiences that I usually like to fill with essentially relevant, historically high converting and high commercial intent search terms. So you can go through your account history and find search terms that are high in commercial intent, words like buy, discount, things like that. Something that indicates the searcher is not just researching, they're looking to maybe buy or shop for these products. So add those search terms as a list into a custom segment audience and use that as an audience signal along with a customer list, and/or every use case is a little bit different, but in most cases I'm going to put usually both, as well as in-market audiences that are relevant if there's any available that makes sense for those particular products or for your particular business. Then after that, we've added the audience signal. We'll go and pause. Just don't forget to pause the automatically created asset group that Google did for you. Pause that guy, and then go ahead and just do anything else that you need for the campaign. Update ad extensions, update the budgets, bidding, location targeting, ad scheduling, other settings as needed. Now, one very important note on the settings here. There's many. This is a big topic in terms of which settings to choose. You may wonder. So again, that's a topic for a whole nother video. But with the final URL expansion, this is a setting I want to make sure that you're aware of. If you do the automatic or the upgrade from Smart Shopping to PMax, make sure that you switch off the quote unquote text assets option. It's a little check mark under the automatically created assets section in the settings section of the campaign. So you go to settings, automatically created assets. It's at near the bottom of that area, and then uncheck the text assets. Essentially, it's going to take, rather than just the URL that you give it in the asset group, it's going to expand its URL. It used to be called URL expansion, and essentially it's going to let Google send people to pages that it feels are relevant rather than just the ones that you give it, either in the asset group or via a page feed, which you can also do. You can give it essentially a list of URLs that you only want it to send PMax ad click traffic to. So that's really important. I know I get it. Like if it's feed only, does it really matter? I'm just doing this long enough to be a little bit paranoid about these things. And I would rather, as an insurance policy, just go ahead and uncheck that box. So that way there's no incentive for Google to say, in case Google does this, like, hey, this box is checked. Maybe they want us to go more on search and display and YouTube. Let's make it more than a feed only, shopping only PMax. And I want to usually, if I'm building it, to be on shopping. I want it to be on shopping as much as possible, or at least increase my odds of it only being on shopping. So I'll usually uncheck that just in case. Now, you might be wondering, what happens to my old smart shopping campaigns? I made the switch, let's just say, and now it says removed. Yeah, it's going to change from a campaign status from enabled to removed. Just know that that's okay. You're not going to lose your historical data, at least not that we know of at this point. It's all still in there. So you'll have your historical data for your smart shopping campaigns. Google will, they say, carry over the learnings from your smart shopping campaign. So audiences that have been warmed up, learnings from those campaigns, they do say that it will be carried over when you upgrade. You won't be able to edit or reactivate these campaigns once you've made the switch, so just know that. And you'll no longer be able to create any new smart shopping campaigns starting in September. So all these things just to keep in mind. So, okay, you've made the upgrade. Where's all your data going to be, right? Where can I expect to start analyzing this stuff? So obviously one is the campaigns level. You probably already know that, but also the asset group details page. You might not see this available just yet. Some might not see it until 2024, but eventually if you go and you customize your columns in the details section of the asset groups area of Performance Max campaign, you can add the columns for a few performance metrics. So again, might not happen or be in your account now, but eventually it's supposed to be widely available come at least 2024. You'll also be using the insight section of Performance Max campaigns. This will show things like search terms and audiences. You may or may not be able to download those search terms, at least as of the taping of this video, for all accounts, but that should be coming as well, where you can download the search term data as well as customizing your date ranges. That's not available in all accounts yet. You might be stuck with a 7-day and a 28-day date range, unfortunately. But hopefully that is changing for most accounts very, very soon. Next is to talk about brand exclusions. Now, this is a whole topic and up for debate of whether you want to exclude branded search terms from your campaign or not. I'm not going to get into that today, but if you don't want PMax to show for searches that include your brand or competitor brands, FYI, just something to think about, create brand lists. So essentially just lists of brand names or brands that you would not like Google to go after within this campaign. So use the brand exclusions section in the in the campaign settings or Performance Max campaign to set that up. And again, you can use your brand or your competitor brands if you don't want it to go after that. Listing groups, last one I'll cover in this video. So there is data here as well, but the filters are limited and you'll likely end up using the products section for analysis. Just because, again, the filters are pretty limited. You're probably going to end up just looking at the products section most often for product level insights and analysis. So through all of this, I just want to say, and wrap up with, remember, we are not chasing the quote unquote perfect PMax setup, right? Essentially, we are aiming to position ourselves or put ourselves into the best, let's say, starting position to align our business goals with the tools available to us within Google Ads. Expect to make changes to your PMax structure and setup as you get some more data. So long, smart shopping. We're really going to miss you. I'll see you in the next video.